Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scan. He is Dr. Michael Warman, Esquire. This will be our season four finale today. We'll be talking a lot about the Super Bowl and I guess, more reluctantly talking about the Super Bowl and the Chiefs not playing so well. We'll talk, I guess, a little bit about what will be coming up next year, though, in season five of the Warning Track Power Hour. But yes, we'll start today's show with the Chiefs. Mike, the coin toss went went the way we expected.
Yeah.
The Chiefs got a defensive stop and a quick first down pass from Mahomes, and then basically everything fell apart. What are your takeaways from the game, or are you going to take away anything from the game at all and just move along and forward to next year?
Well, yeah, the takeaways are what I guess one thing we talked about just before we went on the air is that when the Chiefs lose Super Bowls, they really lose Super Bowls. They've lost three now in their history, and this was actually the closest in terms of margin of defeat. They only lost this one by 18 points. They lost 31-9 to the Buccaneers a few years ago, and they lost 35-10 to the Packers in Super Bowl one. So this was the closest that they've come in defeat. Their four wins have actually been by fewer points than any of their losses. The biggest win was Super Bowl four, 23-7. But then they won by 11 and 3 for their last three. So they when they lose big. Until the final score, I think history will remember this maybe as being not quite as bad as it was, because you look at the box score, it's 40-22. There's at least some points that have been scored. It's not like 55-10, like that 49ers Broncos Super Bowl, or like
Right.
some of the Dallas Cowboys over Buffalo, or the or even recently the Seattle, when Seattle destroyed Denver in the Super Bowl. Was it 43-8 or something like that? So that was one of the
That's not
biggest.
bad.
Yeah, or the Bears and the Patriots, some of those big NFC over AFC Super Bowls from the 80s. But yeah, I think this was a game that the Chiefs played poorly, the Eagles played really, really, really well. Um, and it just wasn't a game by halftime. I think when Hopkins fell down on that wide open pass, that really
Yeah.
sealed the end of the game, I think, because the Chiefs, I think Hopkins could have kept running on that play. He was wide open. Some people think I've read that thought maybe that he could even score on that play, which I'm not sure about because he's kind of older, but like at least they would have gotten into field goal range and then be able to score a touchdown. I think that was when they were down. Was that when they're down 17-0 or 24-0? It was right before the half. Uh,
Yeah.
and that was um that was it. That was it after that. And then, the Chiefs did make a kind of too little too late kind of comeback. But uh, also we saw the new kickoff return rules come into play because the Chiefs could not go for an onside kick after they scored their first touchdown.
Right.
It was still in the third quarter.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and really though, if you want to talk about the kickoffs though, just in general, I mean, do you think the NFL got what they wanted with the kickoff rule changes this year? Because like really none of it worked the way they wanted it to. Because really no team used that landing zone concept. They just went ahead and took the
they took three.
through
Yeah,
the end zone sort of same concept they'd been doing before. So, I mean, do you think the NFL's happy with the rule change, or do you think they'll make changes again?
they'll probably tweak it some more. I think I would have thought maybe more teams would have kicked it into the landing zone, and like on a bounce. Maybe it's harder to get into that than it seems like. I'm not sure, but um, yeah, I think there weren't that many more kickoff. This I don't. Were there any kickoff returns? There were a couple by Remigio in the Super Bowl, but I think all of the Eagles were touchbacks, or at least
They were
most.
out of like more out of desperation though than
Yeah,
out of like, thinking they could really get something for it.
yeah. This um, I don't. The other impressions of the game where that seems like Hurts plays his best games against the Chiefs. Somehow the Eagles match up like he passes really well against the Chiefs, and some of his passes that were down the field were really good throws, and like the Chiefs had pretty good coverage on a lot of them, but still they were completed. It wasn't like there were too many receivers that were running wide open.
Mm.
Um, I think it was the problem was Mahomes had those two interceptions, and then we did have that sack that was a strip sack that could have been or should have been nullified by penalty because Mahomes had a hand in his inside his face mask basically uh,
Yeah.
during that tackle. But the score was 40-22. The defense I think played pretty well. Um, there was a pick six for seven of those points, and there were two other drives that started like within the inside the 20, and then all the other drives started pretty far as well. So they had short fields to work with every time it seemed like the Eagles did. There were turnovers on downs inside the 50, things like that. So it
Yeah.
wasn't, Mahomes didn't play very well. If you look at the final stats, though, he had three touchdowns, two interceptions, a 95 passer rating, which, you know, isn't terrible either. It was a better game technically than he had in the Super Bowl win against San Francisco the first time.
Yeah.
But he's the first three quarters or the first were pretty shaky for him. And there was some discussion that maybe Mahomes actually had a concussion that he developed early in the game. Did you hear anything about that?
I had not heard about that, and I guess I could sort of picture which play it was, and it wasn't the one with the hands to the face because he did get hit pretty hard on that one. But
Yeah, he got sacked six times more than he's ever been sacked before, I guess, in a game, which I was surprised at.
yeah,
More than the Tampa. This looked worse than the Tampa game. He was running around more this game. He didn't. But there was this theory that there was a uh, like he was tackled while he was making a throw in the first quarter I think was a third down play that didn't go anywhere, and he was tackled kind of by the ankles and uh, he
into the
fell
side, and
sideways and his head hit the turf. Um, it seems like maybe that could have been where it was, but I don't. But there's been, I think one of the concussion experts that thought that it probably wasn't a concussion on that play, but it did have a kind of whiplash kind of effect with his head hitting the turf. So
yeah.
maybe that could have explained some of his problems. But do
Well, I
you
know
think?
one of the interceptions was he was bumped like as he was throwing it,
Yeah,
but it's still there's no way that it would have been completed anyway. I don't think that was it seemed like it was an ill
ill-advised
timed and
pass. Yeah.
directional throw that was none of it looked right anyway, and
Yeah, I
so
think he was supposed to go to Hollywood Brown, but it wasn't that. I don't know if it would have gotten to him either. It
yeah,
was a good interception on the part um,
yeah, absolutely.
of Bond. Brian Cook also had a very acrobatic interception early on, which seemed like it might change the trajectory of the game when he made that interception in the red zone. But um, yeah,
That
that
was
was
where the Chiefs turned it right back over, though, wasn't it?
I think
From
so.
memory.
No, that was yeah,
Oh, that was a different play.
that was the first interception. That was the pick six. That was the pick that led to the I think that led to the pick six touchdown.
Yeah,
Yeah, by Cooper DeJean.
right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know what the lessons are from the game. Maybe the Chiefs again need to shore up the offensive line. Tooney is not a long-term solution at left tackle. Maybe you think the Chiefs should have gone with Humphreys there? Would he have done better, do you think? And at least you'd have Tooney out at left guard, and that would solidify the interior where a lot of the pressure came from.
Well, it seemed like they still could have gone back to Wanye or, yeah, basically either of the other options they had at
Yeah,
left
Wanya
tackle. It
Morris
seems like you
or
could,
Sumat. I think Wanya Morris was actually a healthy scratch, so they had Suamataia on the roster.
yeah. I mean, it seemed like you could probably just, switch Tooney back to the middle, and then at least you'd be able to defend their stronger interior pass rush, which was back in the backfield constantly. So I don't see how they kind of didn't do that before the game started, let alone switch to that maybe as the game went on, because they were getting beaten earlier in the season with outside pass rushing, and that's not what got them in trouble in this game. Or at
Yeah,
least having designed plays that would, move Mahomes outside the pocket quickly and also not run the ball right up the middle, which is what they seem to try to do a
yeah,
few
they had a
times.
lot of running plays. People say I heard some people online say like, oh, they should have run the ball more, but they when they ran the ball, they didn't do anything. They only got, maybe
But they
one
were
yard
always trying to
run.
run it like right into that same problem area where they were,
Yeah,
you either have to like delay a bit to like let some of those see which side collapses first and then try to run through the opening, or go outside. I don't know why they didn't do more with like outside rushing or like wide receiver screen kind
they
of
don't.
kind of plays, like just anything that got things moving outside the pocket as
Yeah.
quickly as possible.
Other than Worthy, they don't really have a kind of outside rushing guy this year. Uh,
Yeah,
Hunt and Pacheco are essentially the same kind of bruising running back. You'd think that maybe Pacheco would be more on the outside, but he doesn't have the speed that he did last year because of his. I'm sure he's still recovering from his leg injury. Hunt doesn't
yeah.
have that speed anymore. Um,
But you can start plays to like have them, line up cheating towards one side and then have Mahomes
yeah,
immediately step that way. So at least like the, straight line running is at least,
yeah,
outside the
like a
exact
pitch or
middle of the
something like
field.
that. Yeah, but it seems like the Chiefs don't have a lot of adaptability offensively either. I'm not sure if it's just because the offense has been getting a little bit stale. We had talked about that early in the season. We think that there aren't guys that are just open like there are like schemed guys on a lot of teams that just somehow are just wide open all the time. That
Mm,
Hopkins play where he fell down, that was like maybe the one of the few examples of when somebody was just wide open. All three
yeah,
touchdown catches were pretty contested.
yeah.
Um, and but yeah, that Hopkins, yeah, I still think about that Hopkins play when he fell, when he kind of stumbled and then didn't catch the pass from Mahomes. That was really where it, I think, was over.
There were a couple Kelsey plays that didn't look very good either. He did a drop or two.
Yeah, Kelsey didn't look great.
Yeah.
It seems like he might retire after this game. I'm
That's one
not.
of those things that maybe wait a little while before he
Yeah,
sees what he really thinks about it anyway, but I could see him wanting to retire. I thought more people would be willing to talk about retirement if they won the third,
yeah,
because that seems like an easy way to
go out on
end
top.
end a
Yeah,
career, right? Is with three straight wins, but
yeah.
two straight
Well,
wins and a loss isn't the ideal,
no. Well, I think.
out.
Yeah, I'm.
Gonna go back for one more ride, right?
Yeah, do you think the part of the offensive problem is Nagy? Do you think he's somebody that's more of a liability at this point than an asset in the like in the offensive? It seems like he and Reed have the same philosophy. Maybe
Yeah,
they need some sort of like new blood to come in to at least shake up the offense somewhat, to give some new ideas to Mahomes to work on his strengths more because they think the all they did was really short passing, and that's not really what Mahomes is. He's not just a dinker and dunker, even though he can do that. I think that that's something that doesn't maximize his abilities.
right. Well, so
And
yeah, do you think those later calls were him sort of going rogue, or do you think that was designed
well, they had to come
calls
back
for the keeping
quickly,
plays?
and
Yeah,
one of those things where if if the Chiefs ran the no huddle more, or at least hurry up offense more, I think their
yeah,
offense would do better. Maybe their defense would be more tired. That's maybe the trade-off. But I would rather see the Chiefs score a bunch of points than not score a bunch of points. Again, as a fan,
yes,
it's a more pleasing brand of football to watch.
yeah,
But they scored 22 points in the last 17 minutes of the game.
yeah,
So, they could have scored more, I think, earlier, but like,
yes.
but
At least double that, if not triple that, for the whole game, right?
yeah, just by
Just
following that
by
philosophy.
saying,
But
yeah,
in some ways,
yeah,
you might say, well, maybe the defense backed off a little bit, but I still were blitzing late, and they still had their better players in most of the game, and the touchdown to Worthy at the end, he was well covered, even though it was a big. bomb. So it wasn't like he was
Yeah.
wide open. It was just, third string uh, players that were covering him. So,
Yeah, just getting everybody into the game sort of scenario. It didn't seem like that anyway.
they did put Pickett in at the end of it instead of, but yeah, but I think most of the other starters were still in there. But yeah, this was I don't know. It just seemed like the Chiefs didn't have any answers for what was coming. They contained Saquon Barkley very well. He only had
Yes. Yeah.
57 maybe yards rushing on like 20 something attempts, so it was like 2 yards a carry basically, and he had a few more receptions, but like under 100 total yards, which was good.
Yeah.
Hurts didn't throw for he threw for 200 something yards, but still they didn't have. It wasn't like
220. Yeah.
it wasn't like they were just had so much offense against them. The Chiefs just had basically no offense in the first half. They had no yards,
I
basically.
think they
So
had fewer yards than Philly had points,
I think
I
they had
believe.
23 yards in the first half, something like that.
I think so.
Um, yeah, it was bad.
So Philly's
So
24. Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, if you're asking me if I thought it was Nagy had something to do with with the poor play this season and in the postseason, yes. Yes. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is just an elongated yes. Yes.
most likely, yes.
Yeah. I think he has a lot to do with it, yes.
Yeah, you wonder how much Reed does. I think there needs to be some sort of new spark somewhere.
He's
Because
definitely
they,
not bringing anything new to it anyway. So,
yeah,
it's especially because he was like a retread coach anyway, right? I mean, he'd been with the Chiefs before the enemy,
yeah,
so it was yeah more of the same. I don't think he learned anything new in his tenure with the Bears.
yeah. I don't know. I guess this is the hope is that this loss will spark Mahomes and spark the Chiefs to doing more maybe next year than they would have otherwise. So
Yeah,
that's the thing. But the
well,
three P has been nice.
we've seen Veach rebuild an entire offensive line in an off season. They don't need that. They just need probably one piece,
Well, yeah, maybe
maybe two, but not
it
five.
depends what
Like you
happens
needed
with
five.
Trace. Yeah, he is a free agent. He's going to cost a lot of money. The Chiefs have a lot of free agents to deal with.
Yeah,
Cap space is going to be an issue. Um, so they'll have to restructure some things. But yeah, I thought Bolton is a free agent. Defensively, they did pretty well, even though the 40 points is a lot of points, but it wasn't all. It was a lot of it was offensively created. Um, so they weren't any big long. There was only a couple lengthy drives that the Eagles had. So they didn't have a time of possession advantage. That was partly because the Chiefs kept giving the ball away and not
right,
um, being able to hold on to the ball or in the first half or even or just go three and out usually. It seemed like
right,
so often. Yeah, it was not a good game, not fun to watch for a Chiefs fan, that's for sure. I guess it
no,
did maybe put to bed the rumors that the Chiefs are in are in bed with the refs and the league is rigged and all these sorts of things. Although
right,
I'm sure conspiracy theorists will just say, well, this is they just want you to think that and stuff like that. So I don't know, but it was not a great game. It was more of a when we talk about our bets for the game. You actually did very well this game. I didn't do so well, but I didn't do as poorly as I could have probably. I think our bets that we made before the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers were all much worse than these would have turned out to be. But um,
right.
you want to talk about our you want to talk a little bit about our bets in the games? Uh,
Sure.
you were dominant in one particular aspect of the betting, and that was the over unders. You correctly picked 10 out of 12 over unders.
Yeah,
Uh,
a lot of the props, yeah, the yardages for the players, and
mhm.
yeah, they mostly went my way, I guess. So I had it picked up. Yeah, you still went with your all unders pick. I thought maybe you would switch it up for the Super Bowl, but it had been
No,
working for you.
it had been okay. I was, you know, yeah, yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I decided I thought the blanket unders were working fairly well for me. I did get 5 out of 12 if you include the over under and the points scoring. So not quite 50% just doing it that way. You got
Two like the two passing props were absurdly close though too. Like Mahomes went over by
6.5.
7 or 6 yards is all, and Hertz was over by 9. So they're
Yeah.
single digit overs,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
they would have been both fairly late in the game too.
yeah.
And that's really the difference between you being having 7 correct picks and me having 8, I guess, right? So I mean that makes it absurdly close there too if those went the other way,
Yeah, that's true.
because I
Um,
did have overs on both of the quarterback passing props.
yeah. And we our other prop bets that were made the individual ones. Well, some of those were affected. We had kicking bets, but those didn't work because Butker did not have any field goal attempts. Jake Elliott had 4 field goals and 4 extra points, although there were multiple penalties on those field goals because the long snapper it seemed like was trying to induce the Chiefs to go
Yeah,
sides on several of those plays by I don't know squeezing the ball or doing something, lifting his head. Um,
yeah, they're
and
pretty minor moves, but it's stuff that usually gets flagged,
uh,
and was.
yeah, well, I guess we had
So three of our bets ended up failing because of kicking.
yes,
Butker in potential in specifically, I suppose.
yes,
But
I guess um,
yeah, in our specific bets, we didn't get many of them right, but these were long odds for a lot of these. So getting
yes.
any of them meant we were doing okay, and so we ended up doing okay on these, though.
Yeah, we each actually slightly broke even or a little bit above even. I won. I got 2 out of my 9 prop bets, but I still got enough to break even. Actually won $20 on that end,
$20,
and you got two. You got 3 out of your 9, and you won $6
six
on those
dollars, yeah,
prop bets. So not too shabby.
like a 1% return on mine.
I had a 3% return.
$600 that we bet on these.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I lost too much money on the um, spread, the money line, and the over under, and the rest of the over under. So I finished about four, uh, how much? $425 under what I bet my original $2,000. You finished about $325 over yours. So you actually won money, and even though the Chiefs lost, you still won a little bit of money. I lost money and lost and the Chiefs lost. So I have a double kind of blow to deal with. But
Yeah, which turned into about a $700 swing then between us. But on the season, you had such a big lead. You had about a $1,400 lead, I think, before. So it ended up being
yeah,
season wide. Yeah, you ended up about $700 over me.
yeah. So yeah, I lost about 1,100, $1,200. You lost about 1,850. So we both lost money on the season in every bet, but we did do okay. But we were forced to bet. We forced ourselves to make many more bets than we would have otherwise. At least when I ended up when I did the over when I did my 3 best bets of the week, I was well above. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah, you
the
did really
lesson
well this year.
that we can learn. I'm sure next year will be completely different, and we won't have learned any lesson. But yeah,
Yeah,
this
because
was
like last season, I ended up uh $2,700 on the season, 51% return on the season.
Wow.
and this year being down $1,900 for 30% loss on the season. But you improved quite a bit from season to season. I think last year you were not didn't have a great year. It's like
No.
down $6,900.
Yeah.
This year only down 1,200. So you're improving. So if you continue that trend to next year, Mike, you're going to be way up,
I will be way up. Yeah, I'm sure it's just a linear progression that's going to be made.
straight to the moon.
Yeah.
You're headed.
Yeah, I don't yeah, I think it's just a lesson that, you should try to pick your spots and see what you think, or just not, you get back betting as recreational. We're not going to become professional gamblers anytime soon. But it's good to know that I could have, if I had wanted to this season, only make three bets and make bets like that. If I wanted to put down bigger chunks on those three teams a week, uh,
Yeah,
could have been a professional gambler uh,
yeah.
just for a little while. So
But it seemed like I need to go to make more bets, like smaller amounts, but more bets.
yeah, you have a volume advantage to me. Although
Yeah.
this year your volume wasn't as good.
Well, I
Uh,
think there were specific areas that I don't do well in. And if I had volume but not in over unders, it seemed to be like the thing.
yeah, I'm not
Um,
sure what I'm going to do next year for my over unders, whether I'm just going to keep the unders like I've been doing, which I think allowed me to think more clearly about the other ones. At least that's my theory. Uh,
yes.
I'm not sure. I might go back to picking each one. I don't know if I actually did better on my over unders this year than I did last year. I'd have to actually I'd have to check, but
Maybe you
uh,
want to flip it though. Like if you,
go
you
all
know,
over.
if a week goes all unders, the next week take the all overs because you think that maybe the league doesn't want all unders.
Yeah.
I know there was one week to the next week during the season where that something like that was the case, where it was like it was very skewed one direction. The next week it was just, skewed back the other way, so it sort of evened out
Mhm.
over time.
Yeah.
Reversion to the mean, Mike. Is that maybe you should just bet that should be your strategy for next season is the reversion to the mean strategy.
Yeah. I don't, but then I have to guess which one is which, and I'd probably be off each time.
You're betting on last week's games influencing this week's games, right? So
Yeah, and then that doesn't seem to work. It really doesn't seem to work when it comes to the spread. You shouldn't rely on simply the week before one team looking good. A team from week to week is not consistent necessarily. I yeah, this
part
was
of
a
that is their opponent too. So
yeah, this is just a
they're they're not in a vacuum, as it turns out.
no.
They are influenced by other factors.
Yes. And speaking of influence by other factors, do you think this was the curse of traveling East for a Western team? Remember we had talked last week about how no team, if in a game where the Super Bowl was centrally located between the two teams, no team that was the Western team traveling East had ever won the Super Bowl, at least not since the year 2000. And the Chiefs traveled slightly east to get to New Orleans, whereas Philadelphia traveled west. Of course, both teams traveled south as well, but New Orleans is west of Philadelphia, but slightly east of Kansas City, and therefore Philadelphia won. The team traveling west has, I think, won the last nine of those matchups, something like that.
9 or 10, yeah, something like that. 10 or
And
11 even. Yeah, somewhere in there.
yeah, so was that the curse that we should have paid attention to?
Well, I know I was very dismissive of it last week. I think I just discovered that as you were telling about that. I had never heard that piece of history before, and I dismissed it as being ridiculous. And now look what happened.
Well, yeah, but we looked. Next year's Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara, California, home of the 49ers. And we looked before the we went on the air today. Only one team could be affected by this centrally located traveling west to east um, to visit Santa Clara, and that would be the Seattle Seahawks, who are located very, very, very slightly west of Santa Clara. They're actually, if the game were actually in San Francisco proper, they would be slightly east of San Francisco.
Yes.
But since they're playing in Santa Clara, which is closer to San Jose on the southern, which is south and east of San Francisco on the southern tip of San Francisco Bay, um, the the Seahawks will be traveling slightly east. So
So
they
if the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl next year,
bet all your money on the opponent would be the
everything,
yeah,
everything.
your house mortgage, car payment, your car, uh,
Cash in your IRAs.
IRA, college tuition for your children if you have children. Uh,
Yes.
all of it should be bet against the
Your pet
Seahawks.
insurance, life insurance, whatever, everything, right?
Yeah,
It's a
gold
sure thing.
bars, Krugerrands, all of it. Is that we might be forced to. Who knows what the economy is going to be like in a year from now? Uh, this
It's
might be
yeah.
a good thing. If Vegas is still standing a year from now, we will. That would be the way to go.
Well, I mean, it's likely that Vegas is standing and everything else isn't anymore. This is probably the more likely scenario, isn't it?
So much dollar. See if we're still using the U.S. dollar by that point. Yeah, or we are
Be
switching to.
a Doge currency by then.
Oh, geez. Well, we'll try to refrain from the politics today. Uh, but I guess Donald Trump was the first president to actually attend the Super Bowl. He was, I'm sure, happy to be there. He actually got I think, a better reaction than Taylor Swift did, which I think made him feel pretty satisfied with himself. So,
Sure.
um, because it seemed to be a fairly pro-MAGA crowd at the game.
Is that surprising at all, though, really?
Not really. But yeah, so that was something, I guess. The game in New Orleans also coincided with the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, uh, which is something that I'm sure you and I will use. Have you seen that Google Maps has already switched to calling it the Gulf
I
of
have
America?
not. I don't care. So
And apparently, the Associated Press, because they were not going to switch using the name, was not allowed to attend the last press conference. So this is the world that we live in.
yeah,
Uh, um,
makes sense.
but speaking of the future, the Super Bowls in the past, we have some inkling of where we're going with season 5 of the Warning Track Power Hour. We'll go back to our Warning Track Power roots because baseball is beginning. I believe February 12th for the Royals is when pitchers and catchers report for spring training. A few days after that is the general roster. I think the 21st is the first spring training game, if I'm correct. At sometime around that time. So
Hmm?
we're reaching spring training time for the Royals in Surprise, Arizona. Are you going to make it to a Surprise this year? Are you going to go to any spring training games? You've been before, haven't you?
Have been for it. It's a lot of fun. Have you been to Surprise, or did you go to old Baseball City and
No, I haven't been to any.
Illinois?
I haven't
Yeah.
been to either. I hadn't been to either the Grapefruit League games or the Cactus League
Ah.
action either. I haven't been to spring training before.
It's a great time. It's really worth going out there, especially in the winter time where you and I both are, dealing with snowstorms and possible ice and stuff like that. Uh, it's great to go down to Arizona and be outside and have to wear multiple layers just to
Yeah,
go out.
might be
And
something
you
to
can watch
consider.
multiple baseball games every day, basically, because there's usually a morning afternoon game. There's usually an evening game out there somewhere too. So there's 15 teams playing down there and dual like split squad games even a lot of times. So lots of options. That many teams in one city, you get a pretty good choice of who you can try to watch in the course of a day or a week if you're down there. It's worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you've sold me, Dr. Scaff, so I do want to get down there sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe next year. I'll head down there.
One of these years we should be on location for a morning track power
Ooh, that
hour.
would be great. That would be something. That would be a special treat where we could have palm trees in the background of our
Yes.
um, instead of our
Not
normal,
not bland walls with nothing on them.
yeah, or just yeah, my usual books and boxes. So um,
I've been in a few different locations, but
yeah, I've
not
been in a
not external. I've always been in rooms somewhere. You wouldn't
yes,
even be
I've
able
been
to
in rooms
tell
as
what
well.
city I'm in based on the room I'm in.
I've been in Pittsburgh. I've been in State College. I've been, I believe, Los Angeles for one. So we've been in multiple states, and you've been in Los Angeles for several. In Florida, I believe, at least once or
Yeah,
twice. Plus Kansas and Missouri.
times. Yes. I've been at least four states for Morning
Mhm.
Trek Hour recordings.
Yes, and we're sure we'll have multiple states to come. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Baltimore, so maybe we'll have our next
Nice.
ones in Baltimore as
Well,
well.
we've never been in the same state at the same time though, Mike.
No, that would be
It's
a
4
special.
years of doing this, and we've yeah never done this in the same location.
We need to have it right across from each other, and where we just need a giant desk like they have the NFL.
Yes,
Uh, yeah, and sort of get during the NFL to talk about with like 7 or 8 people sitting around the desk and keep adding more and more and more former players to analyze
I like
what's
it.
and
But
coaching.
but it should still be it should still be with this Zoom format though,
Yeah.
and all the cameras have to be like your laptop cameras, and all of the microphones have to be picking up each other's voices, so they're just like an echo all the way around the table all the
Yeah,
time too.
that would be great. I'm sure our listeners and viewers would love echoes and feedback. They're saying this doesn't sound enough like a Neil Young concert. We need
Yes,
more feedback. Uh,
that's what we need.
yeah. Um, we also have coming up March Madness, the NCAA basketball tournament. Uh, your Iowa State Cyclones are looking pretty good, although they've lost a couple games recently. They're still, I think, top 10. Uh,
They had
and
they had an injury, and he's back now. Momcilovic is back, and it seems to have turned the tide back the correct direction.
my Razorbacks are not doing quite as well under first year coach John Calipari, although they did win at Kentucky, where Calipari was the former coach, but they've lost a number of games. I think they'll have to go on a big run for the SEC tournament to um, make it to the
You mean
sixth.
you mean that young upstart, relatively unknown coach that they have, John Calipari?
Yes, the ingenue John Calipari, Wunderkind. Uh, yes, but yeah, they haven't been quite as good as maybe they were hoping to be. But there's always next year. The Big 12 is looking good. The SEC is actually looking real has a lot of top 25 teams right now. Um, it seems
Yeah, they have like 4 or 5 teams in the top six or something like that, don't they?
yeah, it's crazy. They've had a
Yeah,
really good season. I still think the Big 12 is probably the best league top to bottom, but the SEC has had a really good season this year. So we'll see what happens with the tournament and see what happens with those uh, with the conferences, how the conference tournaments turn out. You're probably excited, Dr. Scuff, that University of Kansas is not likely to win the Big 12 this year,
for the second straight year.
second straight year. How many? They had one at one point, like 12 or 13 years in a row, or more than that, with
Yeah.
Bill. Um,
I've said many times in the past though, the only way for me to be sympathetic towards Kansas though is if they lost every game for about 25 straight seasons, and then it will be neutral. Does that
uh,
sound fair, Mike?
sure, sure. If you really dislike, let's see. So the
Least favorite school.
yes. So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. So from 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, they won so from 2005 to 2018, they won 14 straight conference championships. Then they won 20, 22, and 23. So they didn't win last year, aren't winning this year. So they've toned down, but since Self has been the been the coach, they've won um, quite a bit. But
Yes,
they were
much.
winning quite a few before that as well. But they haven't won nearly as many conference tournaments. Although they did win 2006, 2007, 2008, 2010, 2011, 13, 16, 18, 22. So they still win most of the conference tournaments as well as the
A
conference championship.
lot, man.
But this year, I think Iowa State is,
At least among the favorites.
yes, in
Yeah.
Hilton Coliseum. The Iowa State was the conference tournament champion in 2024, but the last regular season champion was 2001 for Iowa State. Are you surprised it's been that long? Yes, with Kansas winning so many of them since then,
Yeah.
it's not surprising. But
I didn't remember that they won in 2001.
you were still
I was
in college.
there. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, you were at Iowa State then.
I
And
did come down to Kansas City for the tournament
yeah, they won in
somewhere around that because I saw them win a tournament, but I don't
They won
remember
in
which
two.
one it
You were
was.
there in 2000. They won the conference
2000?
tournament and the regular season tournament in the year 2000, 99 and 2000 season. They were the
Yeah.
double. That was the Marcus Pfizer,
Jamal
uh,
Tinsley.
Paul Tinsley era. Yeah,
Yeah.
with
But that
your
that
favorite
had
coach, Larry
a
Station.
disaster NCAA tournament though that next year. Well,
Yeah, they
without
lost it.
Pfizer.
Who they lose to? Lost to, like
Uh,
Hampton or somebody like that.
Hampton, yes,
Was
correct.
it
Hampton.
Hampton? Yeah, 15
15 seed Hampton.
2.
Hampton.
Yeah,
Ugh.
uh, but I'm surprised that Johnny Orr never won a conference championship.
Mm-mm.
The conference regular season. They hadn't won. So Iowa State won 1935, 41, 44, 45, and there was a 55-year drought to 2000 to the year 2000 to win the conference championship,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me. Since Iowa State wasn't like terrible, they were always decent. So you
They
think
had some good players in the 80s too.
Jeff
70s and 80s. They had
Hornacek,
a few players, yeah.
Jeff Grayer,
Yeah. Fred Hoiberg later in the 90s.
Julius Mikulik,
Yes. Yulo.
Julius Mikulik, Justice Thigpen.
Yep, he was pretty good.
Um, yes,
Jeff Hornacek in the 80s
yeah,
went on to be pretty good pro too for the Jazz,
the Jazz.
obviously located in
Utah.
Utah.
Um,
Yes,
yeah, I guess we also
obviously.
have a little bit more NBA talk as we get closer to the playoffs as well. Luka Doncic has made his debut for the Lakers. I think Anthony Davis has not yet made his.
He did play briefly.
Now he's injured again. So
It was an abdominal injury that he had when his last game with the Lakers, and then now it's going to be several weeks. Apparently, is what the current word is. So that
yeah,
seemed predictable, Mike.
great trade by the
Predictable.
Mavericks. But
I guess in the game he went out, he had like a huge line though, like 26 and 20, something like that. And then the injury. So it was like the Anthony Davis microcosm
mhm,
of an entire season distilled into
the one
one
game.
game. Yeah.
Well, this episode of the Warren Trek Power Hour has been like our entire season distilled into one episode, hasn't it? Or maybe not. We talk about Chiefs
Yeah.
victories and preview future NFL games, but um, much of our season, if you remember, is baseball season, and so we have that coming up. We have basketball season winding up into its exciting times as well. We'll also talk about anything else in the world of entertainment or sports. We had our nice Severance discussion last week
Maybe we need to pick another movie to each watch and discuss like we did with Roadhouse
with
a couple
Roadhouse.
months ago.
We'll find one. Yeah, this is for season 5. We'll find some movies to watch and critique.
Oh,
We'll also find other, as news as it happens. We will discuss. No topic is off limits here at the Warren Trek Power Hour. Maybe within reason.
We also need to see if our gambling evolves into the degenerate gambling
Yes. We'll
depths. Are we going to get down
we'll
that far? Are we
we
there
will make
yet?
we will make bets on the NBA playoffs, the NFL playoffs. We will also, NBA playoffs and the Major League Baseball. Uh, you
Spring
know,
training games?
maybe not spring training games, but over unders on wins. Maybe we'll also wade into the NHL playoffs like we did last year.
Ooh, yes.
We also have the NCAA tournament to bet on. We have, I guess, UFL football if we want to bet on. That's
Do we?
starting. We always talk about the UFL, but we never actually end up watching UFL.
No, we don't. We'll have the NFL draft coming up. We've done a lot with the draft the last couple of years.
Yes, we have done a lot with the draft. Uh, the
Not so
UFL.
much betting on the draft, but delving into the numbers around the draft and
Well,
what makes a successful draft.
The UFL doesn't start until March 28th when the Houston Roughnecks host the St. Louis Battlehawks in the opening game of the UFL.
It seems like they're waiting too long. It seems like they should be opening
I think
like
so
this
too.
weekend, this coming
I think
weekend, right?
yeah, I think they're waiting for weather to be better, but I think they should wait. I think they should start as soon as possible.
Isn't it all in the South anyway? So
Well, we have I guess DC, Michigan. There's a Michigan team, Michigan,
uh
and St. Louis. But St. Louis plays in the Dome, and so does Michigan. They played in Ford Field. So
yeah, I thought most of the teams were relatively southern teams.
yeah, we have the St. Louis Battlehawks, the Houston Roughnecks, San Antonio Brahmas, Arlington, Texas Renegades, not the Arlington, Virginia Renegades, Michigan
Right.
Panthers, Memphis Showboats, Birmingham Stallions, and DC Defenders. So those are our teams. I think those are the same teams as last year, so they haven't lost any teams.
No expansion either. So
No expansion either, but maybe one of these days. Yeah, I would like to see a spring football league take off, but like I don't know, we haven't been able to, we haven't watched any of those games anyway. So I've watched parts of games at times, but I haven't really tuned in very closely. But maybe that can
yeah.
change. Maybe we can make UFL bets, UFL futures bets, whatever we want. Or we can just be sane and do things that we at least have some inkling about. But
Start betting on high school games,
high school games.
little league baseball.
Yeah, there's not an Olympic year this year, unfortunately, but there are, I'm sure, World Track and Field Championships or gymnastics, things like that that we could make bets on as well. Figure skating, we know how on the up and up figure skating is. It's always good to make bets on. Russian ping pong that was big during the pandemic. Uh, was it
Yes.
tennis? I guess we have an era of tennis that's more unpredictable now than ever with after the retirements of Federer and Nadal. We also have the decline of Novak Djokovic, who's probably going to retire somewhat soon as well. So it's a new era for men's tennis. Women's tennis is always unpredictable. At
Oh,
least
yep.
Serena Williams has been gone. So we have all
Yeah.
those make bets on golf. Uh,
Do you wonder if anyone bets on the Warning Track Power Hour? Which of us will do better on our picks, like a secondary betting
Betting on the betters.
or betting on the length of an episode
Ooh,
over
the over under
under
on the time. That's what I was thinking. They might bet on the over under
like
on the
70
time.
minutes, something like that, right?
Yeah, this one I think is going to be one of the shorter warning track powers because that we are not going to preview anything, any football next week, or preview necessarily any specific topics. Usually, we're a little bit shorter in the off season than we are in the NFL during the NFL season, but sometimes we can go pretty long. But I think
No.
tonight it's time to wrap things up here on the warning track power. Do we have any last minute suggestions or additions, Dr. Scaff?
Well, remember last time that the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, we did take quite some time off, and I don't think we're going to be doing that again this time.
No, we might
We're,
take a
we're,
week or two.
we're not we're not so disheartened this time that we need that much time off.
Or be a little sporadic in our next few episodes. We might take a week or two off between the episodes sometimes. But we'll get back to it, our normal season soon. We'll have season 5 upcoming. We are glad that you have stuck with us for parts or all of these original 4 seasons, like Frankie Valley,
Yes, the Four Seasons.
or the 4 seasons lawn care place that hosted the 2020 Trump victory slash defeat press
Right,
conference. But
right.
um,
I forgot about that.
well, it's the only thing we can do is think of better times. So we will be back though next time. We'll see you next time here at the Warren Check Power Hour, and we'll be back with all sorts of new exciting ideas and hard-hitting, hair-splitting analysis. That is our stock in trade here at the One Trick Power Hour. So, as always, I'm Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Trick Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms. We really appreciate your listenership and your viewership here of the One Trick Power Hour. So please continue your patronage. We appreciate it, and we are very grateful for your listenership and your viewership. So um, until next time, until season 5, we at the Warren Trek Power Hour wish you a good day. There we go.
Before we go, though, I wanted to ask you:
Oh,
Did
post
you
an
did you
epilogue.
did you think that our Warning Track Power Hour graphics were better than the Super Bowl
Oh,
graphics for the score?
yes, the Super Bowl score bug was pretty lame, I thought. I guess
Yeah,
it was minimalistic. You got the point across, but it's you think with the technology now, you could have at least had a logo or some sort of lettering that matched the font of the teams,
yeah.
like that could have
Or
been
just
done.
the blank like a color block with
Block letter.
slightly matching color to the team, basic
Yeah.
red to basic green. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I did think though when it first started is like that's
And Fox
like
hopes they'd
what's
use
cheaper
it
than
during the
what
Super Bowl.
we do, and we
Yeah.
have such a huge budget for our graphics that
Yeah. They spent all the money on Tom Brady and they only had a few dollars left for graphics design.
must be must be
Are
yeah,
we are we keeping this in the episode?
possibly.
Okay. Well, we'll sign
Good.
off again here with the One Trick Power Hour, wishing you a good day.